Through a vivid personal recounting, young Hawk, an Iroquois scout, narrates the intense moments of the Battle of Little Bighorn, famously remembered as Custer's last stand. This pivotal event in American history has long been surrounded by controversy and uncertainty. Now, for the very first time, the unfiltered truth is shared from the perspective of a Native American witness. Young Hawk's compelling story transports you into the epicenter of the brutal confrontation that sealed the fate of Custer and his 7th Cavalry. Brace yourself for a powerful and unforgettable journey into the heart of this legendary encounter. Get comfortable as we embark on this extraordinary voyage together. While watching, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to support and expand our community. The soldiers gathered atop a gentle rise at the hill's base, soon joined by Custer's men descending from the butte. The scouts appeared tense and uncertain, uneasy about how Custer would respond to the news that the Dakotas were aware of his approach. Some scouts who descended from the hill had reported spotting 6 Dakotas. As Custer drew closer, the scouts began grouping themselves by tribe: Crows, Iroquois, and others. The Iroquois scouts assembled near their elders, who addressed the younger warriors following tribal customs. Stabbed spoke to the younger men, while Custer conveyed his orders to the scouts through Fred Gerard. "Boys, I want you to seize the horses from the Sioux camp," he said. Stabbed then urged the Iroquois scouts to obey Custer's command and capture as many horses as they could. Custer pressed onward. "Prepare to head straight to their camp and take their horses. Today will be challenging. Stay steady. You'll gain valuable experience." Upon reaching the ridge's summit, the bugle sounded and the flag was raised as Gerard informed the scouts, igniting excitement. Everyone readied themselves, tightening saddles and shedding extra weight. A second bugle call rang out, and Custer ordered the scouts forward. They rode down into the dry coulee, and about halfway to the high ridge on the right, young Hawk spotted a group of scouts near the bottom, observing a solitary teepee. The scouts and his unit slowed as others caught up. Suddenly, Gerard called from behind, "The chief orders a charge." Strikes 2 responded with a war cry, asking, "What's the plan?" and charged ahead. At that, we all yelled war cries, with Strikes 2 reaching the lone teepee first, cracking it with his whip. Young Hawk followed, dismounting on its north side and slashing the tent up and down with his knife. Inside, he glimpsed a platform holding a body wrapped in a buffalo hide. At that moment, young Hawk noticed Red Star riding beside him. All scouts regrouped on the teepee's north side and veered into the dry coulee beyond, catching up with white soldiers riding together in disordered ranks. The fastest scout riders kept pace with the soldiers, while some lagged behind. They passed through a prairie dog town at the coulee's mouth, then turned sharply right. Young Hawk spotted Red Star, Goose, Boy Chief, and Red Bear on the Little Bighorn's west bank. Expecting death and scalping by the Dakotas, young Hawk unbraided his hair, tied it forward with eagle feathers, and steadied himself for the coming fight. The battle erupted suddenly, with fighting breaking out along the front as soldiers and scouts dismounted, grouping horses behind them. Soldiers lined up on the right. Scouts took the left near the ridge, with some spread further left at an angle. Bob-tailed Bull was farthest left, closest to the ridge. Dakota skirmishers rode back and forth in front. Young Hawk moved rightward to join the scouts standing in order: Red Bear, Little Brave, Forked Horn, Red Foolish Bear, Goose, Big Belly, Crow, Strike's Enemy, Crow, and Bob-tailed Bull on the far left. Young Hawk was positioned between Goose and Big Belly. Behind them, near the river, Bloody Knife approached. Young Hawk noted Bloody Knife's unique attire: a black handkerchief adorned with blue stars, a gift from Custer, and a bear's claw with a clamshell. Bloody Knife told him that Custer's order to seize Sioux horses was underway, then moved behind to stand with Little Brave. As the fight intensified, their line curved back toward the river. Many soldiers fell, and their ranks began retreating. A Dakota warrior bravely charged but was shot down about 16 feet from the line. He rode a sorrel horse with a white face and a tail tied with red cloth. When the warrior fell, the horse kept advancing, and Young Hawk claimed it. He called to Red Bear to take the horse, but Red Bear didn't respond. Instead, Big Belly, a crow, came over and said, "Brother, I want this horse." "Hand it to me." Big Belly, also called Half Yellow Face and Young Hawk's friend, took the Dakota's horse, leaving his lesser mount behind, and rode off on the new steed. Meanwhile, Dakotas gathered behind the ridge nearest Bobtailed Bull. Suddenly, a dense band of Dakotas charged over the ridge at Bobtailed Bull, surging in a united attack. At the same time, a nearby soldier turned to Young Hawk and shouted, "John, you go!" The Dakota attack pushed the line back toward the soldiers, forcing a retreat across the river nearly 2 miles downstream. They crossed a flat expanse and climbed the bluff at a sharp angle, a taxing climb. The soldiers led the retreat, followed by scouts, Half Yellow Face and Strike's enemy, the 2 crows, then Red Foolish Bear, Forked Horn, Goose, and Young Hawk. When Young Hawk reached the timber, Forked Horn called out, "Let's dismount and hold our ground." This was because Bobtailed Bull was in danger, closely pursued by Dakotas and falling back near the fort. Young Hawk took it as a general signal and swiftly dismounted, Goose doing the same. They fired at the Dakotas while mounted, causing attackers to fall back. Bobtailed Bull crossed the river near the soldiers' fort. Young Hawk tried firing again, but dropped his cartridge while reloading his carbine. 4 scouts, Half Yellow Face, Strike's enemy, Red Foolish Bear, Forked Horn, rode into thick brush and crossed the river less than 1/8 of a mile downstream. Goose and Young Hawk followed, pushing through dense brush and deep water, their horses struggling to reach the far bank. They took refuge in a thicket where they found the other 4 scouts ahead of them, unbeknownst to each other. Dakotas surrounded them, firing into the trees as the scouts crouched atop horseback. Young Hawk and Goose faced each other, then Goose groaned, "Cousin, I'm hit." Young Hawk's resolve tightened as he prepared to fight to the end. Goose showed his wounded right hand, and Young Hawk took his cartridge belt and strapped it on while standing by the horse. He helped Goose dismount. As this happened, Goose's horse was shot down. Enraged, Young Hawk removed his coat and blouse, ready to defend himself. He placed Goose against a tree, telling him to hold the horse, and noticed Half Yellow Face crawling toward them. Half Yellow Face exclaimed, "My friend is being killed. He's right at the thicket's edge." Young Hawk crawled alongside, moving on hands and knees, to reach fallen Crow Scout Strike's enemy, or White Swan, who lay on his back with raised arms. Together they dragged him to Goose's spot, where he rested against a tree. Strike's enemy said, "I fear nothing. I'm glad to be wounded." Young Hawk admitted, seeing his injured comrades, filled him with dread, afraid of witnessing their pain. He vowed to die at the timber's edge. Before departing, he hugged his horse's neck and whispered, "I love you." He crawled out, stood, and fired at kneeling Sioux warriors who returned fire, but he remained unscathed. Determined, he crawled to a new position, shot again, and drew more hostile fire, ducking out of sight before being hit. Nearby, he found a tree with driftwood stacked against it for cover and saw Forked Horn lying face down to avoid bullets. When Forked Horn realized Young Hawk had drawn fire twice, he warned, "Don't do that again. It's foolish to show yourself." The Dakotas tried to smoke them out, but the green grass wouldn't ignite. Young Hawk sat quietly, then fired at a Dakota on a gray horse but missed. He jumped up and shot again, killing the rider. The horse, adorned with an ornate bridle, circled left after its rider fell, likely still tied by a rope. Young Hawk fired 2 more shots, finally bringing the horse down. As it fell, he let out the Iroquois victory yell, a traditional shout marking an enemy's defeat. Seeing the horse drop, Goose asked Young Hawk to fetch the fine bridle for him. Later, as Sioux warriors closed in, Young Hawk shot another enemy and repeated the death call. Elsewhere, Dakota women rode up, urging warriors to kill the Iroquois with cries of a woman's lament. Their shouts echoed through the brush, but soon they withdrew with the rest. As fighting lessened, young Hawk saw Dakotas moving downstream, signaling Custer's attack had begun at the lower fort. Several Dakotas crossed the river and rode north, passing the scouts. When gunfire ceased, young Hawk stood and saw a U.S. flag on the ridge, marking the pack train's position. Forked Horn praised young Hawk's bravery and urged them to reach the pack train as Custer had commanded, to avoid being mistaken for Dakotas. Young Hawk fashioned a flag by tying his white handkerchief to a stick. They managed to get Strike's enemy onto his horse despite injuries, while Goose rode Red Foolish Bear's horse and Red Foolish Bear walked. Young Hawk led, waving the white flag. Moving along the stream and up the slope, they spotted Dakotas returning on the ridge's east side, converging on the white camp. The Custer fight was finished. Dakotas had taken the hill where soldiers made their last stand. The group turned back, except young Hawk, signaling with the white flag. Soldiers fired over young Hawk at advancing Dakotas, who also targeted him. Near the camp, his horse was shot, but he ran into camp still holding the flag. There he met, peaked face, Varnum the chief scout, and found the pack train, survivors from the battle, Reno and Bentine's troops, and their commanding officer, who greeted him with relief. The officer said Bob-tailed Bull had fallen, and his horse was at camp. Young Hawk spotted Little Brave's spotted horse, caught it, and claimed it, assuming Little Brave was lost. As Dakotas closed in, the other scouts regrouped and all retreated into a ravine. The Dakotas attacked fiercely, unleashing deafening gunfire with casualties on both sides. They flanked right, firing into the ravine, forcing soldiers to build breastworks from cracker boxes and supplies for protection. Young Hawk didn't help build, instead using a cracker box as a shield while lying prone. Dakotas surrounded them, firing from all sides and advancing crouched, the battle's noise drowning all else out. The wounded were pulled behind the breastworks, the safest place, as fierce fighting continued until nightfall. When darkness came, wounded were treated, and the dead set aside. The troops stayed alert all night, expecting another Dakota assault. At dawn, gunfire resumed, and fighting continued fiercely until late afternoon. Scouts regrouped on the side nearest Dakota lines and the ridge. That afternoon, an officer brought a message for the scouts to deliver after dark. Forked Horn agreed to carry it. The officer told Goose his injured hand prevented his participation, but each scout would bear identical messages. Later, the officer returned with a sergeant to accompany them so someone could report the camp's condition if all scouts were killed. Goose insisted on joining despite his wound, wanting to share his comrades' fate. The officer stressed the message was for the U.S. President to inform the nation about what happened. They were allowed to ride government horses, faster than their own, and told to ride hard, ignoring those who fell. If a scout was shot, the message was to be left for soldiers to find. Forked Horn asked for horses' shoes to be removed, believing unshod hooves ran better. When messages were ready, 2 Crow scouts stayed behind, one injured, the other caring for him. The messengers, Goose, Forked Horn, Red Foolish Bear, Young Hawk, and the White Sergeant, prepared for the perilous mission. After nightfall, they slipped out along the ravine but were ambushed by Dakotas and forced to retreat. As dust settled and gunfire echoes faded across the vast Montana plains, Young Hawk's tale leaves more questions than answers. What truly compelled Custer to choose the fatal course that day? How did alliances, betrayals, and survival shape the outcome in ways history has never fully revealed? Young Hawk's eyewitness account destroys myths and reveals untold human drama behind Custer's last stand, a story of bravery, loss, and a battle that forever changed a nation's path. Yet this is only one voice from the past. What other secrets rest beneath Little Bighorn's soil? What truths are yet uncovered? If this glimpse into history moved you, share your thoughts below. What surprised you most? What do you want to explore next? And remember to subscribe. The real story is far from finished, and the next chapter might rewrite everything you believe to know.